With the rise of gas prices around the world, more consumers are shifting to an electric way for their daily commute. However, there are plenty of uncertainties that are actually getting in the way of consumers making the switch. Given that most electric vehicles have a rather short range and they take a long while to charge, how is this going to fit in an average human's life? Do you think the lithium battery that we use in our phone is better, or a hydrogen one would be a better fit? You can let us know in the comments section down below. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. And before we start with the episode today, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and drop a like. Today we're getting under the hood of an electric vehicle and comparing different types of batteries that support an electric vehicle. If you're interested in knowing which type of car performs better, the electric or the generic fuel-based vehicle, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, as we'll be bringing this to you. We've all seen the hype behind electric cars. We've recently seen the hype behind the Hummer EV and how Joe Bidden loved his ride. Many strongly believe that electric vehicles are the future of commuting, not just for regular commutes, but even trucks are opting to a more electric approach to transfer goods from one end to another. The charging time and the range of the vehicle are proving to be a difficult challenge that has yet to be overcome by our experts. But if the range increases from 400 miles to 700 miles, does that mean that it would almost double the amount of time charge? To know this, we need to understand more about the type of batteries. Let's begin with lithium batteries, the same batteries that are being used in your cell phone currently. It's not a surprise either that lithium-ion is commonly used in almost all electric vehicles today. They're just scaled-up versions of what's in your hand or your pocket. But instead of using a single cell unit like the one in your cell phone, electric vehicles need a lot more. Electric vehicles are made up of thousands of lithium-ion cells, which gives them the ability to generate energy to operate a large vehicle. The Li-ion batteries have higher density compared to traditional nickel-cadmium or lead-acid battery. Not only are they capable of having a larger charge, but also have a longer lifespan too. You may already know that lithium is the lightest of all metals, and the Li-ion batteries do not actually contain any metal, but rather contain lithium ions, which can be manipulated to either store or release the charge within the unit. It's usually made up of lithium compound, a negative electrode which is made up of graphite, and a liquid electrolyte material that fills up the rest. When an electrical charge is added to the battery, the Li-ions move the positive electrode to the negative electrode. When the energy is released from the battery, they move in opposite directions. The cons of having a Li-ion battery is that there exists a risk of overheating or exploding or even catching fire under certain circumstances. Companies that manufacture these electric vehicles have had to invest heavily in developing these features, which would reduce these dangers and make the vehicles safe for use on the roads. They have included cooling mechanisms to regulate the temperature of the batteries, but since it contains a liquid element that undergoes frequent temperature changes during normal operations, this risk will always be present. Another thing about Li-ion batteries is their useful life. In phones, for example, you would only expect the battery to continue functioning for a year or maximum 2 years before its maximum charge cycles have been met. This problem only enlarges when you make larger versions of these batteries. Currently, most of the electric car manufacturers offer a guarantee that the battery would continue to work for a minimum of 8 years, and even though the current estimates that it should last between 10 years and 20 years, they will at some point need to be replaced. They would also have implications on the resale value of the vehicle as it ages, but it doesn't end there. The bigger concern is for the waste that this would produce after it has tried to improve the situation for the environment by using an electric vehicle in the first place. The last thing you want to create is batteries that would end up in a landfill. The main usability problem with Li-ion batteries is that they'll always have a limited range, and very little can be changed about this. You can increase the charging speed, but that would be suitable for short distance. What about long-distance travel? To travel a longer distance, you would have to charge the vehicle for a longer duration and would have to find another charger every few hundred miles. This is where combustion engines are proving to be more useful and easier to use. This is where it is proving to be a hard sell, where you could spend a few minutes to fill up your tank, whereas it would take hours to fully charge your car. However, there are two other types of battery technologies that are promising and could eventually pass Li-ion batteries used in vehicles currently. You might have seen hydrogen fuel cells and that there are already hydrogen-powered cars available like Toyota Mirai. Even though they're not as prevalent as the lithium-powered vehicles, they have several other advantages over Li-ion batteries. Hydrogen-powered cars will likely become a more viable option once the infrastructure for the same has been developed. Keeping in mind a user's point of view, A hydrogen-powered vehicle would be in comparison to a gas-powered car, as one of the greatest advantages they have is that the vehicle's tank is filled with liquid hydrogen, which is then fed into a fuel cell along with oxygen, and the reaction takes place within the cell and converts the chemical energy contained within the hydrogen to mechanical energy to operate the car. And the only waste product that is created in this whole process is water vapor. With this ability to refill a tank within minutes and have a range far greater compared to the lithium-ion vehicles can offer in a single charge, it's pretty obvious that there are more benefits of using a hydrogen-powered car. But it comes with a few disadvantages too. Even though it is a feasible tech for mass adoption, various improvements have yet to be made. The cons of having a hydrogen fuel cell is the cost of building hydrogen fuel cells in the first place, and installing the gas stations that would need to offer pumps that would dispense hydrogen fuel, and this would need huge investments. A particular concern would be if hydrogen-fueled cars actually have the energy credentials that consumers expect from having an electric vehicle. They would use as much as thrice the amount of energy to operate in comparison to lithium-ion cars for each mile driven. Energy that must come from somewhere, and the production of liquid hydrogen is still controversial, and this element doesn't exist in the liquid state in nature. More than 95% of the hydrogen that is created is done from the natural gas, which in turn means that this fuel releases just as much greenhouse gases, and maybe even more compared to the traditional combustion engine. The technology is moving the problem from one place to another, and even though there are other ways to produce hydrogen such as electrolysis of water, but this is currently cost-intensive and is nowhere near being realistic, especially for daily use. For hydrogen-powered vehicles to make a worthwhile demand, manufacturers would have to drastically increase the production of hydrogen, and this has an element of gamble involved in this technology, that hydrogen-powered vehicles would have become so widespread that hydrogen with zero emission would actually become available in solid-state battery. And this is probably the most exciting development for electric cars. Even though this is not ready for mass adoption, this would yet be a complete game changer when it's ready for mass adoption. Samsung is currently leading the way with this technology and reinventing how a battery is made. The engineers at Samsung believe that the range of an electric car could be doubled in comparison to what is currently before needing to charge. Solid-state batteries have been in use for a long time now in smaller devices such as RFID tags and pacemakers, but you cannot recharge these. However, the new design allows the movements of ions within the battery to be reversed, and this is what is needed to add extra charge to them. The way they've done this is by changing the electrolyte that is used inside the battery. In a lithium battery, the electrolyte is a liquid, whereas in the solid-state battery, the electrolyte is rather solid. This would mean that the battery itself would easily be half the size, so twice as many could be installed in the battery space that is usually reserved in electric vehicles. This means, in a single charge, you could travel up to 600 miles or more in a single charge. This would make most trips viable without the need of charging it for an hour halfway. Samsung also says that these batteries would have a longer usage life compared to its alternatives. They expect these batteries to be recharged over 1,000 times before it needs a replacement. Well, there you have it, folks. What do you think is the future? You can let us know in the comments section below. For more updates on this, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.